I mean, lads, what kind of weird, strange, eerie, spooky Formula One season this has been so far. It's great for us. There's no two ways about it. But I'm all over the place, lads. I can't figure this whole season out at all. I just don't know what's coming next. It would be nice to have a pulse on it. It'd be nice to have an idea. But nothing. Nothing. We're watching the most strangest, unpredictable and psychologically fascinating Formula One seasons that I can remember ever. And yeah, you might be saying, and I was saying this only on my last podcast with the reaction from Miami, lads, that, okay, well, Kimi Antonelli, people were predicting, well, Peter, that's predictable, right? Kimi Antonelli won again, 3 in a row. I mean, brilliant. Don't get me wrong, it is brilliant. But I didn't see that coming, lads. I mean, I thought, okay, sprint race, here we go, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, 1 and 2, bang, they're back. Verstappen, nowhere. Kimi Antonelli, not really anywhere either, right? If you're not in the top 3, you're not anywhere, pretty much, okay? Let's call a spade here. And this is the thing. Then all of a sudden, after the sprint, the McLarens, nowhere. Verstappen up in second. Antonelli pole. Everybody's thinking, oh, Max is back, baby. Max is back. Well, then look what happened in the race. Look what happened in the race, lads. You know, all of a sudden, you know, McLaren, McLaren, they're unbeatable. Red Bull, they're back. They're showing signs of life. But hey, Max is back, baby. You know, nobody knows. Like, no, I don't think even the teams understand what's going on here, lads. Honestly, because there is moments in racing where you have these times where you can predict to a certain degree that you're going to be fast at a racetrack, because either your driver's on the ball, your car's on the ball, so you got a both combination of driver and car. You know, you've an idea if you're going to struggle somewhere, you know, because again, you could be saying, all right, lads, well, we're really good at the fast tracks, but here we go, we're into Monaco and it's really slow and we're struggling. Transition, left, right. That has to be very sharp and quick, right? But the problem is, that's when you know, oh, okay, well, look, lads, let's just try, at least if we get on the podium this weekend, we're doing pretty solid. So let's talk about Kimi Antonelli. Okay, 3 in a row, absolutely brilliant. Okay? At the same time, this is his job. This is his job. Now, ladies and gents, if you've heard me before on my podcast, I always will stand up for the guy who's in the right. Okay? What pisses me off is when they start hyping it up big time. I mean, I'm seeing headlines, Kimi Antonelli making George Russell look ordinary. I'm not even a George Russell fan, okay? I'm not a George Russell fan. Have you ever seen me vouch for George Russell? Probably not. I don't think I've ever vouched for him. But I will stand up for the guy. George Russell is not looking ordinary against Kimi Antonelli, lads, okay? Here we go again. Antonelli is a great driver, but he's been paid to win races. George Russell paid to win races. Now, Antonelli, 3 in a row, bang. George Russell said he does struggle in Miami. Okay. He shouldn't, but every driver, I mean, Senna had every now and then, he'd have a track where it just didn't get into the rhythm. You know, now I can't actually name a track, to be honest, that Senna didn't perform well, but every driver, I don't care who you are, Senna, Schumacher, Fangio, Prost, any of the big greats, there's always a place where you it just doesn't completely click into place. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a midfielder at the back of the grid, but it does mean that, you know, you could put it on pole or second, but you're in third or fourth. So, I mean, you could be off by a tenth of a second, right? That doesn't sound much, but it's a bloody lifetime, lads, when you're talking at this level. Now, with Antonelli, you could argue me, well, Peter, George Russell's been in it long enough. He should be winning by now. He should be kicking ass. Yeah, absolutely. I get it. Antonelli has the team backing him. Big time, lads. Okay? Big time. He's got the equipment. This is like Max Verstappen at Red Bull. This is like Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, okay? They're investing in the young driver. And this isn't me being bitter. I'm just calling what it's real, okay? It's the realism of it, all right? And if you want to argue me on this one, Hamilton dominates at Mercedes, then all of a sudden, he's nowhere. But weren't you saying that he was the greatest driver of all time? Okay, so if he was the greatest driver of all time, or sorry, if he is the greatest driver of all time, why did he have a few years at Mercedes that were diabolical? If he's the greatest of all time, surely he could have just dominated the field anyway, right? Yeah, right? If he's that good, why isn't he dominating Ferrari? And by the way, I ain't a Hamilton fan either. You've probably heard me have a go off him many a times, okay? Many a times. I do respect him. He's a brilliant ballsy driver. He's quite clued in. He can keep his composure. He's very, very good at keeping his composure, okay? It's not his strength, but it's definitely, he's, 9 out of 10 for keeping his composure, keeping it real, all right? Did I just say keeping it real? Anyway, okay, lads. So, I said keeping it real. Jesus. All right, so the thing is, lads, is that Hamilton didn't get the backing and the support from Mercedes in his last few years. I'm standing up for the guy here, okay? I'm standing up for him. And at Ferrari, I said this even before he went to Ferrari. Ferrari are the real movie star, okay? You go to a different team, Red Bull, okay? Max is the star, not Red Bull. Do you get me? Mercedes, Antonelli now is the star, not Mercedes. But you go to Ferrari, they're the movie star, lads. They are the, oh my God, it's Ferrari. No one says that about Mercedes or Red Bull or McLaren. You know what I mean? Now, if we're just comparing Formula One teams to each other now, all right? So Ferrari, they are pretty, I don't know if I'd say pretty much. They're more inclined to give the two drivers the same, there's no such thing as the same equipment, lads, but you can get very close, all right? There's no such thing. But I think most of the time, they do give the driver as much as they can equal equipment. Which is, I guess it's kind of good, right? The last time it didn't go that way was with Schumacher. I think Schumacher's the second greatest of all time. I love the man. I'm obsessed with the man. I worship the man. He did get the backing from the team, though. All right? This is the reality of it. Now, let's go back to Kimi Antonelli. I've just got a bit sidetracked here, lads. But I'm trying to make a point here. Yes, finely composed for his age, right? There's no doubt about it. The guy's full of confidence. He came in as a race winner, champion, right? And he brought that in and carried the momentum. He has a lot of backing and support from his team, which is great to see. So, and he is, there's no doubt about it. The guy is very, very composed. Now, number one, he's been paid millions of euros to being composed. So, yeah, man, suck it up, princess, and be composed, just like every other driver. And if you're not, you should be really looking at yourself in the mirror. I mean, this is the standards, lads, that we need to have. This is the standards that everybody should have in their job, in their tennis, love of tennis, their love of golf, their love of Formula One. You know what I mean? This is what we need to be, bring a standard to the table, And, we become so shocked that people are performing at their elite level. Really? Like, what about an accountant, You got an accountant who works in-house at your company. All of a sudden, he balances the profit and loss sheet. Does anybody go around cheering for the accountant? No. I can't speak for every company, of course. But do you? No. You're like, oh, right, John, he did the balance books. Yeah, all right, he got everything sorted. Lovely. Sweet. But why aren't we praising them? No, I mean, think about this. Why aren't we praising John, who balances the books, profit and loss, the balance sheet, everything ticks the box? Are we cheering for him? Are we spraying champagne all over him? No, because we just expect that's his job. That's his job. I don't get it. Like, this is not Sunday karting with your mates, like with the lads. This is the pinnacle of motorsport, and Antonelli is delivering. That's what he's meant to do, and that's what he should be doing. And it's brilliant. I remember back in my own racing days, Peter, you're too hard on yourself. I won some championships, I won some races, right? People were patting me on the back, okay? And I was literally downplaying it. And I wasn't putting on an act, lads. This is the way I felt, okay? And this isn't me saying, oh, look at you, Peter, showing off. I'm not showing off here, okay? I'm not bragging, I'm not showing off. This is exactly what Peter shouldn't be doing. You win a race, that's your job. You win the championship, that's your job. I remember some people were like, oh, well done, Peter, that was amazing. I was like, no, it's not amazing, lads. That's what I meant to do, right? And they were like, jeez. I remember even one guy even goes, all right, take it easy, man. You're a little bit hard on yourself, right? No, I'm not hard on myself. That's just the standard that we should all have. That's not cockiness. That's just having humbleness in yourself to say that when you do get to a certain level, that you don't start tapping yourself on the shoulder. Oh, I'm the man. I'm amazing. No, because there's always something better. There's always something better. If you deliver a brilliant result and you win the championship, yeah, well, Peter could have maybe wrapped it up two races ago. If Antonelli goes on to win the race this year, the championship, maybe he could have wrapped it up. Remember in Miami? And by the way, remember we're having that bookmarked? That Antonelli, he got docked a few laps or a few places in the sprint race. That could come back and haunt him. Okay? So even if he does win the championship, he should be saying, well, I made that mistake in Miami. I could have wrapped this up a little sooner. But look, hey, still be delighted. Still be, going on the piss that night with the team or the lads, celebrating. Absolutely. But we just have to keep it a little grounded here. Racing drivers are not gods. They're not invincible. There has to be standards. There has to be accountability. Accountability. Okay? Accountability. You're never as good as your big win. You're never as bad as your worst result. So there's always that safety net, But the problem is that everybody, pats each other on the back, how amazing you are. Give me a break. Come on, lads. Really? Is this what we're resorting to? And only a few years ago, Hamilton, the greatest of all time. Then all of a sudden, Max Verstappen's the greatest of all time. Really? Now, all of a sudden, we have people comparing Antonelli to Senna. To Ayrton Senna. Really? What? Have you been sniffing glue in the car park, lads? Are you actually comparing Antonelli to Ayrton Senna? The guy's won 3 races in a row. Brilliant results. He's been doing brilliantly. No two ways about it. But give me a break. Ayrton Senna. Jesus Christ. And Antonelli, he's handling the pressure very, very well. Right? Very, very composed, as we said. And it is impressive. It is impressive that he's keeping the composure. We're just saying not that impressive. I know, maybe I'm harping on too much here, lads. Maybe I'm repeating myself. But, most drivers, they can go in emotional. They can go in overdriving, making mistakes, trying too hard, forcing moments. And you understand that too, So, you can overcook it, you can overdrive, you can make the mistakes for a couple of races, and that's all right. Look, a bit of nerves. You'd forgive drivers with that. As long as it only lasts a couple of races now. Do you know what I mean? Not for an entire season, but we're not talking about that with Antonelli. But technically, the numbers. When you look at the drivers who achieved 3 consecutive victories, right? It is great, right? Many of them became world champions, right? You've got, Max Verstappen. I'm just looking at my screen here, lads. You've got Max Verstappen. He had 10 consecutive wins, all right? Sebastian Vettel had 9. Schumacher had 7. Hamilton had 5. Ayrton Senna 5. Alonso, Lauda, Stewart, and Clark. All right? That's 3 in a row at 18 years of age. Sorry, 19 years of age, excuse me. Because, at the same time, everybody wants to instantly crown the next king. I mean, do we really believe that Lewis Hamilton is better than Senna? And then after that, 2 years later, no, Verstappen's the greatest of all time. Do we really believe... Really, out of all the years in motorsport, it just happens that the 2 guys that are winning back-to-back world championships and all that, they just happen to be now the greatest of all time? Not even maybe in the top 3, top 5, top 10, but no. Straight to number 1. And lads, here comes the BS detector, the lie detector. And I'm giving it to you straight here, And I know Sky Sports, they're just so... I think everybody knows they're very biased, right? I'll say it and I'll say it again. I've said this a few times on the podcast before, and I remember when Hamilton won his 7th World Championship. He crosses the line. Brilliant achievement, all right? No doubt about it. He crosses the line, and I remember David Croft says, and Lewis Hamilton becomes the most successful driver of all time alongside Michael Schumacher. That's exactly what he said. And I even remember this because I went, what? And then when he said alongside Michael Schumacher, I went, all right. Well, at least he didn't go all out and say he's the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? But that's the thing, lads, is that then they cut to a commercial break. And at the commercial break, they repeat it, they replay it, and they have David Croft saying, and Lewis Hamilton becomes the most successful driver of all time. Cut to the commercial. Cut to commercial. So, lads, I mean, it's just the corruption. How Sky Sports producers sleep at night is just, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. I don't know how they can do this. I mean, why not just say, yeah, Lewis Hamilton's right up there with Michael Schumacher, right? What's the problem with that? But to actually go that extra step where you're cutting it out to try and lie and fib to everybody, like if anybody knows their stats in Formula 1, they all know that Michael Schumacher has 7 World Championships, Lewis Hamilton has 7 World Championships. So they're clearly just lying to you. It's what pisses me off, man. It really does piss me off. You know, be fair to people. Be fair to people. Absolutely, no question. You know? Cheer for them. Celebrate for their wins, championships. But don't lie to people. Let's move on to something actually really positive. Because this man wouldn't have accepted the crap talk. Sterling Moss, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Stirling Moss. People say, oh, well, he was the greatest that never won a championship. Oh, well, they just stop. Please. Yeah, it's true. He didn't win a championship. He was unreal, ladies and gentlemen. He's in my top 5 of all time. There is nothing between Fangio and Stirling Moss. I mean, Fangio for me is number 3 of all time. Literally, toss a coin between these two guys. Now, yeah, you can argue with me. Fangio went on to win 5 world championships, right? And Sterling none. But he just, I don't know. Sterling Moss, he just couldn't get over the line. Now, you maybe think I'm a hypocrite, right? Well, Peter, you know, you're always going about results and bring food to the table and results. Yeah, I know. So you probably think I'm full of crap on this one, but I'm not. But it's just weird the way his whole life worked out. He was so unreal. Like, I mean, what a human being, lads, this man was. You know, like when people hear the gentleman driver, they're misunderstanding Stirling Moss completely. This guy was an animal. He was an assassin, a monster, and a gentleman too. But you cannot just think he's just the absolute gentleman. And we're going to delve into why, okay? They think nice, polite British guy. The guy was a gladiator, a killer. The man loved danger. He needed danger. He fed off danger. And a very, very controversial thing about like pressure, right? We're going to get into something very controversial and people think, oh, he was an idiot. He's too much of a nice guy. Well, let me explain why people thought he was a nice guy. And we'll get through that now in just 1 second and the psychology of it. You know, Stirling Moss was in an interview and he said, if 2 people are playing chess for chips or money, okay, it can be boring. Boring. Because there's not a lot at stake. But then he says, if you up the ante, well, didn't say the exact words, but basically, lads, if you start bringing up the ante and raise the game and put your life on the line, now it's a completely different scenario. Now it actually matters. Now it's important. And he's true. Not every move means something, you know, like, think about that mentality, lads. He needs the adrenaline rush. I mean, I know what it's like. You need that adrenaline rush. I mean, since I've stopped racing, I've been looking for adrenaline rushes. I've been used to putting my life on the line too. Not as dangerous as those guys. Absolutely not. Those cars were just like, they had no safety regulations in them whatsoever. Or, you know, and even the cars I had comparing to these cars, to this day and age, ours were death traps comparing to the ones that they have now in 2026. But, you know, it's greatness that he has. He's not a lunatic. He's chasing the up the ante because there is an amazing buzz when you put your life on the line, lads. It's scary as hell. Don't get me wrong. It is scary as hell, okay? You feel like a 4-year-old boy when you go up against it. But then when you overcome and you get through and you succeed, knowing that you're facing that fear, it's an amazing feeling. And I think that's why, Stirling Moss, Formula 1 suited him perfectly. Because back, Formula 1 wasn't just dangerous, like, it was almost suicidal. It was almost suicidal. And, these lads were driving missiles, like, with petrol tanks attached to them, like, no runoff areas, no modern safety, no guarantees. Stirling Moss, he thrived on it, man. Not because he wanted to die. Big fucking difference here, lads. And it gave him clarity. That's what it is. Unbelievable psychology. And honestly, lads, do you know anybody in your life like that? Do you? And I'm not saying you should be, or you should be ashamed or anything like that. I'm not. Not at all. But maybe you do know somebody. Maybe they're not a nut job. Maybe they're not suicidal and looking for death, knocking on death's door every day and looking, come on, please take me. No, maybe not. Maybe they're just literally focused. They need the adrenaline rush, because once you get a taste of it, lads, oh boy, let's get to the Stirling Moss story. So, guys, there was a scenario. Maybe some of you know this. Okay. But Stirling Moss was up for the championship up against Mike Hawthorne. And Hawthorne went on to win the championship. Now, it was one of the last races of the season. I think it was 3 from the end, right? But Stirling Moss had to beat Hawthorne. Hawthorne goes off the track. And if memory serves me correctly, he goes onto a slip road, okay? Off track. And he gets a jump start by, I think, some of the marshals in the slip road. Okay, so he's off the track. He got disqualified. Now, I think, as far as I remember, the rules for that stage were you cannot get jump started on track. Technically, he was off the track. Okay? Now, you can go either way on this one. I can see both sides of this, I can. But he was technically off the track. Now, here's where it really upped the ante on this one. Stirling Moss actually lost the championship at this stage. Now, beg your pardon. Let me reverse it. I got it wrong. At this stage, Mike Hawthorne is excluded from the race. Stirling Moss will be the champion. Stirling Moss got out of his car and went up to the FIA and said to them, guys, he was off the track. He didn't actually do anything wrong. He actually batted for Hawthorne. Now, you think about that scenario. If Hawthorne's disqualified, like Stirling Moss didn't do anything, okay? So imagine you're in that scenario, guys. You don't do anything wrong, and yet the other guy gets disqualified, and you go on and win the championship. But yet this guy gets out of his car, bats for the guy, goes out of his way to go and report and actually stand up for him and say, actually, guys, and he's defending him. And what happens? They listen to Stirling Moss and they put him back into the race, Hawthorne, and Hawthorne was champion. Now, Stirling Moss could have went away and just shut his mouth. Said nothing. Now, some of you will probably go, idiot, dumbass. I get it. I do. I get it. But the thing was, Stirling Moss did this because he wanted a fair fight. He even said that in an interview, that he said, what if you're up in a 100-meter sprint or a running competition, and yet the guy's got a broken leg and you go on and win? Do you really want to win that way? Seriously? This guy wanted everybody to be at their best. He wanted the scrap. He wanted the fight. He wanted the victory, right? And I get it, believe me, because what he wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing if Stirling Moss went on to win the championship, okay, he would have at least said to himself, all right, well, look, I defended the guy. I tried to actually vouch for him, but I won the championship. I guarantee you Stirling Moss would not have been happy. He would have been pleased, right? Maybe. Okay, maybe a bit of a smile and maybe have a couple of drinks with the lads at the end of the night. But he wouldn't have won it on track. A little technical glitch made him win the championship. He doesn't want to win it that way. He wants to know, Stirling Moss wants to know that he had it in him up against the pressure and have a fair fight. And if he comes out on top, I'm the true deserved champion. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what a real champion is all about. That's what it makes a champion. Everything on the line, fair fight, the two of them neck and neck. Stirling Moss has to dig deep, go down into the inside, make a kamikaze move if he has to try and do it, and win. That's how we wanted to win. Now, you look at Alain Prost when he was up against Senna. If everybody remembers, they were in Suzuka. And Senna goes off into the slip road and he gets a jump start, a push start from the marshals. Okay? Prost is off the track now. And Prost tried to knock him off, by the way. All right, so Prost tries to knock him off the hairpin, the last corner in Suzuka. The two of them go off. Prost retires, right? Now, Prost is hoping that he just really knocked the two of them off and the two of them retire. If they retire, Alain Prost wins the championship, right? So that's what he was hoping for that year. Prost tries to knock him off. Prost goes off. Senna is actually lucky enough to stay on the track. Or sorry, to have us all four wheels on, and front wing and back wing, everything on, lucky enough. But he's stalled, okay? So Prost is off at the stage. Senna still has a chance to keep going. He gets push started from the marshals. He gets going again. Senna goes on to win the race. And technically, everybody's thinking, oh my God, Ayrton Senna wins the race. Alain Prost goes off, bitches and squeals and moans. He goes off to the FIA and, funny enough, coincidentally, Alain Prost is French and the FIA guy is French and a right asshole. If Bellisteri, I can't remember his name, unbelievably biased and unbelievably licking Alain Prost's ass. And funnily enough, they disqualify Senna from it because he got push started. Do you think Alain Prost really thinks he's clever with that? As in, tell you boy, use every angle you can. Or do you think Alain Prost doesn't sleep very well at night? Do you think there's maybe that little stone in his shoe that I didn't win the championship this year? Did I really win it fair? Now, maybe I'm wrong. And if Alain Prost thinks he's the real world champion for that, well, my friends, he ain't a champion at all. He ain't a champion at all. No, any of the true legends, really, they don't play that way. They want to win it fairly. Did I have enough? Was I good enough on the day? But Alain Prost went for a sneaky move, and it was disgusting. Now, I gotta admit, I still have Alain Prost in the top 10 of all time for me, right? But he would be up more places. In fact, he might be, he might even be in the top 3 if he actually didn't do what he did. He just didn't, he lost points, if you call it that way, or whatever you look at it, right? But I definitely think he's still in the top 10 of all time. So, Stirling Moss, just an unbelievable man. Do you look for the easy way out? Can you really sleep at night knowing that you bump somebody out of the place, or in your job and your career? Like, if we've all seen that, guys. Maybe you are one of these people, right? Have you ratted someone out to get the promotion? Do you really feel good about it? Or maybe you were the person that got ratted on and it was complete bollocks talk, right? They made up something, or something, right? And the person cheated you out of it. Do you really think that person sleeps well at night? I bet they don't. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it there today. Adios.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh.